What is going on, guys? Black Appeal the Apple Guy here, and today I'm going to be talking about my FX30. Now, I've had this camera for just slightly over a month and a half, bought it back around the middle of April, and I've only been actually able to do one video with it. Did a quick vlog, which I used my Sony 11mm f1.8 for the video. I will drop a link down below for that. I would definitely take a look at that video, though. The video quality is really good for this type of camera. So I bought this camera, and I really wasn't planning on buying this camera. I was really planning on buying the Sony a7C because I wanted to upgrade from my a6400 to something a little bit more, but I wanted that kind of full flip out screen. And the only camera that I could find that was at least reasonably priced for me was the a7C. Then came the FX30 when it was announced, and then that pretty much just changed my kind of decision on what camera to buy, and I ditched the a7C and bought the FX30. Now, the reason why I bought this is because this is a full-fledged cinema camera. So if you were to go on the Sony website, look under the cinema lineup, you will find the FX30 and the FX3. The FX3 basically is just a full-frame version of this camera, and I'm not really going to go too much into the differences between the two, other than the fact that one is full-frame, one is not. This is $1,800, the other one is $3,500. So that is the main difference. Beyond that, you can do your research on that. So like I said, I've had this camera for just about a month and a half. It's an amazing camera. Now, this is stepping up from an a6400 to a cinema camera. It is a little bit daunting in terms of learning a lot of the features that this camera has to offer, and there are a lot of features that this camera has to offer. It took me a bit to actually figure out most of the buttons on this, let alone just learning how to customize. And then I actually had to watch a few YouTube videos just on how I could do some quick settings so that when I was ready to shoot some videos, I could simply just go into my camera, select those quick settings, and then just shoot my videos. And if you want to see some of those, if you want to know those videos, I'll drop a link down below for that. If you are planning on getting the FX30, or you have one and you're still learning and you want to learn some of those really quick settings, the video down below, definitely worth taking a look at. So after that, it's an APS-C censored camera. Basically, it's just a smaller censored camera over the full frame. So if you are running a APS-C censored camera, which is basically any of the A6000 lineups, then you don't have to worry about buying new lenses, not until you are ready to buy them. But this is my Sigma 16mm. That is pretty much my everyday go-to lens for pretty much the only Sony camera I had next to the a6400. So it's an amazing lens, works perfectly fine for vlogging, as well as the 11mm f1.8. So this thing has a host of connections and features that you can customize like crazy. One of them being, I love the fact that you still keep that articulating full touch screen. It also has a full HDMI input. So as you can see right there, if you ever wanted to plan on plugging this into a camera monitor, you could do that. If you want to plug this into your PC, all you need is an HDMI to HDMI and you're good to go. And then it also have your typical other Sony connections, such as a 3.5mm plug-in for using an external mic, as well as a headphone jack if you want to monitor your audio. It does charge via USB-C, and there's also a multi-input for this, which I'm not really sure what that would be used for anymore, other than it's just there. Other than that, it does have a built-in fan, so if you're ever shooting this out in a hot environment, the fan does keep it cool. It also has a dual SD card slot. So on the right hand side, as you can see right there, I probably won't be able to see it that well, but there are two slots for this camera. Just your standard SD cards, and then you have your CF Express cards for this camera. Now this does shoot at 4K 60, 4K 30, as well as 4K 120 if you are doing S&Q, which is basically slow or quick action. So if you love to shoot fast sports like NASCAR or football or something like that, then this gives you that capability, as well as slower stuff. If you want to slow down the action, it can do that. Now, this is just a straight cinema camera. As you can see, there's no photo, anything associated with this camera. There's no EF viewfinder, which is what I love about this camera, but that doesn't mean that you still can't take photos on this, because this does do a really good job at taking photos. You're just going to be using the viewfinder for that. Other than that, the reason why I bought this and didn't get the A7C like I originally wanted to do was because I wanted a camera that was really more video focused and not just video and photo. I've already have been doing that with the Sony ZV-1 and the A6400. And again, both cameras are amazing. I love my ZV-1, and I did love my A6400, but I wanted a more video focused camera, and that is when I decided to get the FX30 and not go with the full frame version of the A7C. Now again, if you've never used these types of cameras, like I never have before, it seems like it's daunting at first when you start learning about all the customizations for this. Now, there's no rule that says you can't shoot in program auto until you are ready to kind of sit down and really get into this camera, because like I said, there's a lot of functions on this camera that you may not use, some more important than others depending on the person that's using it. Other than that, it does have a healthy dose of you sitting down and learning a lot about this. You're not going to really learn it like in a week or so or even 2 weeks, but it is definitely worth sitting down and taking the time if you're going to buy this camera and use it for cinema purposes, or even if you're just going to use it as your first cinema camera or your first camera for starting whatever project that you're doing. Definitely would recommend at least watching a few videos and how you can get some quick settings on this. That way you're not trying to figure out what to do while wasting time. Other than that, I did buy a cage for this. This is a cage from Small Rig. Now this is a partial cage, not a full cage like what you would get for like your A6400 or for any other Sony cameras. This one's actually what I like to call a J-shaped cage. It's like or an unfinished cage in a sense. So it starts from the Small Rig and it kind of zips around. So it's kind of like a funky J, and then you have your NATO rail right there, which screws into the quarter threads on the top of the camera. Now this does have some quarter threads that you can actually attach stuff to if you wanted to. Otherwise, 9 times out of 10, you're just going to buy a cage and simply just attach it to this. Now, this is a Small Rig one. That Tilta does make one as well. I just prefer the Small Rig because I've been using Small Rig pretty much for everything I've ever owned, and I do use it for my action cameras. Other than that, I do use a cage on this, and I did have a top handle for this, but I actually had to switch that out because that was actually being used with the cold shoe, and now that I have the NATO rail on it, I actually had to buy a Small Rig handle for this, which I have here. This is my Small Rig handle. It's just a simple clamp on to this, and all it does is it allows me to switch it from one angle to the next depending on the situation and how I want to shoot stuff, and it's pretty awesome. I'll drop a link down below for both Small Rig products if you want to take a look at that. Otherwise, it's an amazing camera. Now there will be a firmware update for this if the camera hasn't already shipped with the firmware updated. Otherwise, if it has not, then you will have to update the firmware for this. And basically what that firmware will allow you to do is allow you to shoot the camera at actually 4K at 24 frames instead of 23.9 or 4K at 59.97, which is what I look at when I'm shooting this in 4K at 60. Aside from that, the camera's built pretty solid, and never had an issue with this, at least as far as me using it in my limited time with me having it when I get a chance to. Otherwise, well, it depends on the person and really what they are trying to achieve. If you are looking to go into cinematography, but you don't want to spend a lot of money on a cinema camera like the FX3 or the FX6, then definitely would take a look at the FX30, as when it comes to lenses, there is a whole host of lenses that you can use, and there's a wide variety of prices that you can go with. Otherwise, if we're talking about you wanting to do both video and photo, probably not with the FX30, although it can do good photos. Again, like I mentioned before, it's not really designed like that. It's really more for videos. And if you are looking to kind of get your first camera and you want to do more video and you're thinking about doing cinematography, then yes. Otherwise, it just really depends on the person and what they're trying to achieve with whatever they're doing. Like I said, for me, I wanted a camera that did more video than photo, hence why I bought this. Otherwise, that's all that I got for today. And again, I have a link down below for that video if you want to take a look at that vlog, as well as links down below for the accessories for these. Otherwise, I want to thank everybody for watching my video. And again, my name is Black the Apple Guy, and I will see you guys in the next video. Enjoy your summer.